The story ends. The children got home from school one day to find Aunt Trudy busily packing her things. "Oh, Aunt Trudy," they cried in dismay. "You're not leaving us, are you?" Aunt Trudy's face was beaming. "Come with me," she said. "I have a wonderful surprise for you." She led the way to Daddy's room. There he was, sitting up in a chair. "Oh, Daddy," they shouted, "you're getting well." What joy filled the room! The happy surprise was greater than the unhappy one of Aunt Trudy's leaving. At bedtime they sat together for the last story. Margie said she wished Cindy and Jean could have heard it all. Then they would understand better about losing their mother. "Why don't you tell it to them, Margie?" Aunt Trudy suggested. "That is another strangely wonderful thing about this story. Not only does it improve with hearing over and over, but telling it makes it mean still more." A pleased look came over Margie's face. "I will tell it to them. It will be one way I can help make them happy. And I'll tell Linda, too. Then she will understand why she may never be able to walk again. I'll tell them that someday Jesus will be the storyteller, and we will all sit and listen to him explain why he had to let Satan do some of the things to us." "And how will you explain the reason?" Aunt Trudy questioned. "I will say that God has to let Satan test us to see if we will choose God's side, no matter how hard Satan makes it. And I will say that the angels and the other worlds are watching to see who wins the battle. Also, they are watching to see how mean and cruel Satan has turned out to be, even though he promised to have things better than God had them in the first place. It shows what happens to anybody who chooses to break God's rules." Aunt Trudy was much pleased. "I am sure you will be able to tell the story well, Margie. You know, I'm waiting for God to explain some things to me, too." Margie and Aunt Trudy smiled a secret smile at each other, for she meant that God would explain about the terrible accident that took her two little children and their daddy, and left Aunt Trudy all alone. "There are just a few things I want to remind you of again before I go away," she said. "All the thousands of years before God the Son came to the world, many of Lucifer's former angel friends possibly felt a little sorry for him. Some of them were not sure, but that God was a little too hard on him. But when they watched Satan torture and kill God the Son, it was completely settled in their mind. Then they knew for sure that Lucifer was wrong and God was right. When Jesus died on the cross, he paid the price of death that he paid the price of death that Adam was supposed to pay when he broke the rules. Jesus did not break any rules while he was man, so he passed over it. So he proved it could be done, and he took the punishment anyway. That way he took Adam's place and won the world back from the devil. Now it is really God's world again, not Satan's. Satan knows this, of course, and he is killing as many people as he can and causing all the trouble possible, because that is the only way he has of trying to get even with God. He is furious with hatred and says, "All right, God, I know you're going to destroy me soon, but I'm going to get all the people destroyed with me that I possibly can." And he's working to do that too. When the big battle is all over, everything evil and unhappy will be gone, and God will make the world all new. Things will be as they were supposed to be in the first place. And God says that never, never again will anyone break the rules and cause trouble. "How does God know that?" asked Dick. "Lucifer broke the rules. Maybe somebody else will do it again." When Lucifer broke the rules, it was the first time it had ever happened. Nobody knew what it would be like. That is why God did not stop it right away, so that everybody could find out what it would be like. All the people and all the angels now know how terrible things are when the rules are broken. and not one would ever want to start trouble again. Only one thing will be left as a souvenir of the time of trouble. I know what a souvenir is, Dick exclaimed. It is a keepsake to remind you of something. That's a good explanation, Dick. Forever and forever there will be the keepsake of the nail wounds in Jesus' hands and feet to remind us how much he loves us. Aunt Trudy picked up a Bible. In here is an invitation for you to help fight the battle. God wrote an invitation just as Grandpa wrote you an invitation last summer. He needs help. Why does God need help when he can do anything? Margie asked. It is hard to believe, but there are some things God can't do. You remember Satan says God's rules are too hard for people to obey. So only people can prove that Satan is wrong by obeying the rules. God will help, but he can't prove a point unless people are willing to cooperate with him in the fight. It is as if God is leaning out of heaven, looking down at you, reaching his hand out to you and saying, my dear son, my beloved daughter, I need help. Won't you please choose my side and be willing to help me? And you have to choose whether you will help Satan or God.